Back here at the heart of New Hampshire primary land, it's the epicenter at the Radisson Hotel. One face you're very familiar with if you watch C-SPAN is our next guest, a friend and a great TV journalist, Steve Scully. Steve, thank you for joining us.
This is the epicenter, kind of like the political universe is gathered here every 4 years. You see the same faces all the time. It's great.
Yeah, everybody's in the same place almost.
I know. Nothing changes.
Nothing changes.
Except the politics.
Exactly. Well, how different is it this year covering, as with television, as the internet has grown, as we do more blogging and web-based information? How has that changed since you started covering this?
Well, we used to cover events, tape them, bring them back to Washington, put them on the air prime time, and figure we were doing a pretty good job. But now everything has to be live. And I think what we've tried to do is tap into what people get on the web and give them a sense of what it's like. So we go to these events, instead of one camera, we'll have 3, sometimes 4. We'll be outside, we'll show the candidates arriving, get a real sense of what it's like for the crowds in the media frenzy. In the fall, you'd have a couple of cameras around the candidates with John Huntsman, and even with Mitt Romney, it changes after Iowa, because here you have all the press, they all have non-refundable rooms, so whether there's a story here or not, they're going to come to New Hampshire. But honestly, this is different because everyone is talking about second place and what is going to happen in South Carolina. So in terms of our coverage, technology has made it easier, but also more challenging. In terms of the story, there's always a great story up here, and there'll be an even greater story tomorrow.
No doubt. We're talking with Steve Scully again. He is part of C-SPAN. He has been there for a number of years, and really a great journalist. My wonder is, for the C-SPAN coverage, the dealing with the candidates, how hard is it? Has it been harder, or is it easier because C-SPAN is more known now to everybody?
It's a good question. Some things never change.
Yes.
When we started, I first started covering Bill Clinton as the little-known governor of Arkansas, and as soon as he began to win, the campaign begins to pull back and make it much more restrictive. So we are often their best friend because they know that we're going to cover their events. But anytime you start moving up in the polls or winning primaries, it becomes more and more difficult. And we've seen that every 4 years. The Bush campaign gave us a lot of access, and then it changes. And it's understandable because instead of 8 candidates, there's 1 or 2, and becomes everything that you do is under a microscope. We would rather have the same kind of access all the way through. We realize the reality is you're not going to be able to do that, which is why we start covering this process so early and showcasing what these candidates are talking about, which makes New Hampshire and Iowa and South Carolina so unique and quite frankly, I think important to the process, because we're able to put a window into who these folks are. They're able to talk to real voters, take questions, and see how they think on their feet. And we do that early in the process, realizing that as we move out of New Hampshire, it's going to become even more difficult to have the kind of access that we think we need to cover the campaign. We'll still cover it, no question about it, but you don't have the level. They won't wear the wireless mic, and there's a lot more people and handlers around the candidate, so it just makes it more difficult.
This year you have, and we just spent some time with Buddy Roemer, kind of a second list of candidates. There's Mr. Carger, the first openly gay candidate. There's Mr. Johnson, who's very much on the legalization of marijuana issue, the former governor from New Mexico. How do you give the opportunity to these folks that are not the top level, not the Romneys or the Huntsmans or the Gingriches? How does that figure into your coverage?
Well, a couple of ways. Right now on the network, we're airing the lesser-known presidential party candidates debate that took place in December. It's $1,000 to be on the ballot here in New Hampshire, and I think there are probably about 40 or 50 names on the ballot. So that's one way to cover these folks, just to put on the record who are they and why are they running for president. But for those people like Buddy Roemer and Gary Johnson, former governors, people who have been in elective office, we do a couple of things. We sit down and talk with them. All the interviews that we've done are on our website. We put them on the Washington Journal. We cover their events. Admittedly, we're not going to cover them as extensively as a Mitt Romney or John Huntsman or Newt Gingrich, but we feel we have an obligation. I mean, we cover third-party conventions in their entirety. Nobody else is going to do that because they are part of the process. And if we don't do it, who else will? So the level may not be quite the same between the top tier candidates and those who are in the single digits, but it's our responsibility. It's really been part of our mission from the very beginning, and we'll continue to do so leading up to November. The third party, the Green Party, the Libertarian Party conventions, any other candidates outside of the Ross Perot's, which really made a difference in '92 and '96. They may be in the single digits, but they're still espousing a point of view and expressing opinions that we think our audience needs to know about.
We're talking with Steve Scully of C-SPAN here on RevolutionBoston.com. Jeff Santos, part of going around talking to many journalists who are covering this. Give me your thoughts about how, as a community, as a journalist community, getting young people engaged in the process with the close-up work that you guys have done for years, getting high school, college students. Now the Occupy movement has been out there, getting a lot of kids. You see them in the Paul campaign. You see them outside at Occupy Manchester. How does that, getting young people to watch TV, to watch politics, how does that enter into a lot of what the people in your producing team and others in programming are thinking about now?
Well, let me put a shameless plug out there, because we have a great website called C-SPAN in the Classroom, and the goal is to take all of the material that we have and make it interesting and exciting for kids to learn about politics. We offer a lot of educational opportunities with colleges and universities. We outreach with them all the time. We work with the Washington Center. And I'll give you my theory about young people in politics. I think it's great if they watch Jon Stewart. I think it's terrific if you watch Comedy Central, because you're interested in politics. Sure. And if you're interested in it at that level, you may then be interested in it on a deeper level with the public policy issues that are out there. And I think that, young kids, as they get, about ready to graduate from college, realize, hey, I got to make a living, I got to pay back those student loans, and they realize, gosh, look what I'm paying in taxes, or look what the streets are like where I live, and so that energizes them to get involved in politics. So I think our approach has to be that we're part of the process. Our primary mission is education, and what we can do is really give these students an avenue with our website offerings, with radio and television, a sense of showing how this process works unfiltered. They then may go on to running for political office, or at least being involved in the process as citizens, and they may watch Comedy Central and they may watch other programs as well, but there's a kaleidoscope of information out there, and we're one of those.
Final question for Steve Scully. Do you sense that more now than ever before that people are looking to a straight ahead, because you have progressive talk radio, you have conservative radio, you have Fox, and you have MSNBC, that there really is a need for a straight across, here's the facts, unfiltered, there's not an opinion by the host, that is something that people are now gravitating to, and maybe the only one left?
Sounds a lot like C-SPAN. You have to be a consumer of news. You do a great job on radio. You put a lot of ideas on the table for people to consider. And I think that what we're seeing today is, yes, there's opinion journalism. And yes, as you watch prime time on MSNBC or Fox, you're going to get different opinions, and CNN tries to focus on the news. What you have to do as a consumer, as a citizen, as a participant in this process, is decide where you want to go for information. And I'm one of those citizens. I go to NPR in the morning. I listen to the Today Show. I watch C-SPAN. I'm obviously part of what we do at C-SPAN, but read the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal. You got to get it from all sources, and then you form your own opinion. So yes, I think what we do is different, unique. Nobody else does it. We have the unique ability of not worrying about ratings. We try to do the purest form of journalism, and we realize you're going to watch C-SPAN and get news and information from other sources, and that's what you should do.
Steve Scully, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
You
Keep up the great work.
Always. Very good. Thank you, Steve.